Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Hejka.
Okay. It was a little more than 10 years ago. It's our son Terrell's 17th birthday. And he says, Dad, can I borrow the car? I said, sure. You know, he's a good kid. He had a summer job, and he was going to go to the movies and take his younger brother, Mike. He's a year younger than him. I mean, Mike, and I told him, be home by 11:30. Figured that was a reasonable time. You know, when I was 17, I was going off to college. But there was other considerations to take in mind as well. You see, I'm white. My sons are black. And I know there's different unwritten rules that they had to follow that I didn't have to think about decades ago when I was a teenager. You know, because I'd seen the transformation on how people regarded them from the time they were little till they were teenagers, especially Terrell, because he was always very sociable, so he always had a group of friends around him. And he'd be going up to the park to play baseball, going up to the park and organize a game of soccer or game of basketball or football. And everybody thought it was adorable. All these kids always heading up to the park, always hanging out. But now they're 14, 15, 16. People didn't think it was adorable. What are they hanging out up there all the time for? What are they up to? I don't know, the football might give you an idea. You know, and you know, when I taught them to drive, Terrell, Mike, Andre, you know I had to emphasize different rules with them than I did with the other dozen children who aren't black, who I taught how to drive. You know, if you get arrested, don't say anything. Just say, I want my dad, I want a lawyer. If it's just a traffic stop, keep your hands on the wheel. Don't make any sudden movements. You know, officer, my wallet's right there. Can I get my license and registration? Understand that you're responsible for everybody in your car, so don't be driving around with any idiots. You know, and sorry. Okay, don't be driving around with any idiots. And so off they went to the movies. And 11:30 goes. I get a call from Terrell. Dad, I got 2 flat tires. It's like, 2 flat tires? What happened? He says, I hit the curb. Hit the curb? How fast were you going? I said, never mind. Where are you? You know, they're close to home. They're like, you know, less than a mile away. I head on over. They had 2 flats, both on the same side of the car, plus a donut was flat. I called AAA to get a flatbed tow truck out there, and I go out there, and they're sitting on the curb looking miserable. And I'm yelling at them. I'm letting them have it. I'm pissed. I don't want to be out there. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting for the tow truck. Finally, it arrives. You know, it's well after midnight now. But alongside the tow truck is a Detroit police car. And they put down their window, and they say they got called for someone messing with a car a couple blocks away. And they wanted to know what we were doing out there, implying we had something to do with this. And that's when I made my mistake. I started talking. You know, I don't know, subconsciously, you know, I was an old white guy. I'm talking to 2 white cops. I forgot the rules still apply because I'm with my sons. And I'm yapping away, and I'm mad, you know, about, you know, the whole situation. And the car's up on the tow truck, and I think we're leaving. And the officers say, hold on, we want to see your IDs. So they have to all pull out our IDs. And they, you know, of course, there's no warrants or anything. We're all good. Now I think I'm leaving again. And they say, hold on. And one officer pulls out her ticket book and starts to write a ticket. I said, what's the ticket for? You know, they hadn't hit anything, hadn't hit any other cars, didn't damage our car except for the tires. And she says, curfew violation. I said, Detroit has a curfew? You know, apparently it does. It's like, you know, during daylight savings time, it's a little later, it's like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, depending on whether it's 16 or under or 17, and an hour later on the weekends. And I'm thinking, shoot. You know, when I was 16, I was working, bussing tables, washing dishes at a clock restaurant. You know, it was 24 hours. And sometimes I'd get out at 4 in the morning and have to find my way home. But I said, how can you write them a ticket, though? I'm with them. I'm their father. Now, I'd already told her I was their dad, but I'm thinking, you know, maybe it just didn't sink in. You know, because we all tend to see what we want to see, hear what we want to hear. And she says, yes, but you told us that you came here to help them. Therefore, before you got here, they were in violation of curfew. I was like, shit. Should have kept my mouth shut. So I take the tickets and I say, well, is this like a traffic ticket? Do I just send a check, or do I got to go to juvenile court, or what? She says, well, he's got to go to juvenile court, but he's got to go to 36th District Court, pointing at my 17-year-old son, Terrell, whose birthday it was. Happy birthday. I said, why has he got to go to adult court? She said, because he's 17. I said, well, if 17 makes him an adult, why has he got a youth curfew? She said, because he's 17. It's like, what if he's... Never mind. Just give me the tickets. I want this night to be over with. I turn to walk away, and she says, hold on. She flips the page, and she says, and she has to write another ticket. I said, what's this one for? She said, this is for you. I said, I'm getting a ticket for getting a tow truck for my sons? And she goes, no, for allowing your children to violate curfew. You said you told them to be home at 11:30. Damn it. I kept my mouth shut. And I look at the ticket, and it says parental neglect. And my heart stops. I said, officer, I'm a foster parent. I have little ones at home we're caring for, whom we later adopted. I said, I could lose my foster care license. And finally, she seemed to take a step back and consider. And she says, well, I'll be at the court hearing, and I'll ask the judge to dismiss your 2 tickets. So months or weeks go by, our court date comes, and we go to 36th District Court, and oh my God, what a mill that is. There's hundreds of people coming in, pay tickets, pay fines, pay fee, court call, facing judges. I'm like, oh my God. We're sitting there listening to all the other cases, and we're trying to decide what to do. And I want to fight this because it doesn't seem to make sense to give a ticket for somebody for violating curfew before anybody even witnessed them violating. But on the wall, there was a sign that says, you can ask for a hearing in it, but there's fees associated with that. So I said, Trell, let's just pay the fine, get the heck out of here. You can pay me back. They call us up. The judge thinks I'm his lawyer. I said, no, he's a minor. He's 17. I'm his father. And he does this quick assessment of us. And he looks at the paperwork, and I guess he decides, he needs to straighten Trell out. And he starts lecturing about, the decisions you make now have an impact on the rest of your life, but you still have time to turn yourself around. And I'm thinking, turn yourself around? I was like, Trell's a senior in high school at that point. Now, he's never had a detention, let alone a suspension. He's got no juvenile records. He's got a clean driving record. He's great with the little ones at home. I'm thinking, turn yourself around. But, Trell's being good. He's, yes, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. I understand, Your Honor. And he says he's going to fine him like $150 or something. I'm like, shit. And but he says he'll dismiss the ticket. I don't know how you find somebody then dismiss the ticket, but I'm all right. Okay. And then he says, on advisement. I'm like, what the hell's on advisement? In 9 months, if you meet the terms of your probation for curfew. And he had terms of his probation. He had to go set up and pay for and go to a tour of the county jail. Another one of the tour of the county morgue, to scare him straight. He had to do 40 hours of community service, free labor. And he had to report to his probation officer once a month, missing work, missing school. And she sends Trell off to find his probation officer. Now it's my turn. He starts giving me a lecture about being a responsible parent. And I'm thinking, how many kids I've raised? And I'm almost 48 years old. First time in front of a judge, he's lecturing me about being a responsible parent. But with him, I got the distinct impression, he's black, that he looked at me, this old white guy, doesn't have a clue how to raise black teenagers. So he's going to straighten Trell out for me. He's going to get him on a straight and narrow. So I go to find my probation officer. And he looks at this, the paperwork, and he says, this can't be right. And he leaves me sitting at his desk. He goes up to the other floor to talk to the judge or the clerk, and he comes back scratching his head, and he goes, you don't have to report to me. Come back in 6 months, and I'll tell the judge you met all the terms of your probation. So I leave. I meet Trell in the hallway. We're waiting for the elevator. Elevator doors open, and who's standing there but the officer who wrote us the tickets? I said, officer, you remember us? She said, yes. And I remember you said you were going to be at the court and asked him to dismiss the tickets? And she said, well, I sent Officer so-and-so. And I said, well, there was an officer there. He never opened his mouth. And I told her about the $150 fine, 9 months probation, 6 months probation, jail tour, morgue tour, you know. And she turns a bright red, and we get on the elevator, and we all ride down together in silence. So we hold our breath for 6 months, you know, keeping Trell close to home and away from the car. And I go in, and I got to listen to another lecture, you know, a short one this time. And he dismisses the ticket. I said, whew. 3 more months of holding our breath and keeping Trell close to home. And we go in, and Trell's got all his paperwork, everything ready. You know, the judge looks at it. You know, he took a tour of the morgue. He took the tour of the jail. He did his 40 hours of community service. And that was hard because they gave us a list of places to go to. And every one of them said the same thing. Sorry, you can't volunteer here because you're not an adult. You're 17. Finally, I literally begged the manager of our local Goodwill store to please let him work here. You know, and it galled me to do that, you know, because I'm a union man. I'm asking him to let my son work for free to keep him out of trouble with the court and stealing somebody's overtime. But I think, okay, it's all set. We're ready to go. And he flips that over and he looks at Trell's report cards because he had to bring those in too. And he says, I don't like this. Look at these grades. Look at these C's. How do you expect to get anywhere in life? And he starts, I'm thinking, you son of a... You don't know him. You sit up there, you're looking at him, you think you know him, you don't know him. He worked hard for those C's. As far as I was concerned, those were A's. He doesn't know a first thing about him. And I'm thinking, shit, he's going to keep him on probation. You know, and that, you know, I had understood these unwritten, I thought intellectually, these unwritten rules, but standing there next to Trell, my heart's racing, and I'm thinking, shit, he's going to keep him dangling on a string, you know, in fear of any misstep. But he finally says, I don't like it, but I'm going to dismiss it. And we walk out quietly, you know, the door closes. God, I said, Trell, I never want to come back here again. And we never did. But a few months later, Halloween, get a knock at the door, 8 o'clock at night, you know, and this young man from around the block says, Mr. Hejka, the police picked up Andre. I said, what for? He says, curfew violation. I said, but Andre's 18! That's what they said. So my wonderful wife, Michelle, says, I'll go. She went to the 6th precinct and got him out, comes home, he's got a ticket. It says, it's right around the block from our house, 8 o'clock at night, you know, because they have this insane early curfew. Aiding and abetting curfew violation, because he's walking with a friend who was 17. Fortunately, when my wife went to 36th District Court, different courtroom, and they said it was ridiculous, dismissed it, and I agree, it is ridiculous. It's just like it's ridiculous that Michigan's one of only 9 states where 17-year-olds are automatically considered adults, regardless of the charge. You know, and it can be tried as an adult as young as 14 if they get a waiver. You know, and it's ridiculous that we have these early curfews, you know, penalizing or criminalizing kids for being young. You know, it's ridiculous that we force labor out of people, but, you know, all this could be changed by simple legislation if we put on enough political pressure. But this... But this experience and others taught me that too often our criminal justice system is more interested in, you know, ensnaring people, extracting revenue, you know, and perpetuating itself. It's more interested in that than it is in justice.
Hejka, taking a tour of the 36